In the month of May 47 BC, an army of 20,000 soldiers with scythed chariots and an inspiring leader marched into Asia for a fourth and final round. They fought against Gaius Julius Caesar's 15,000 strong veteran army. Hey guys, what's up? This is the Rise of the East podcast. I am your host, Joel Francis, and this is episode 11, Pharnakes II versus Caesar. At the start of Pharnakes' 15-year reign, which not much is known about, he subjugated the Phanagorians and the towns surrounding the Bosphorus, which Mithridates had already done, revealing to us that they were no longer loyal to his son. Pharnakes' rule is almost completely unknown. We do know that he crowned himself with the Persian title of Shahanshah, and had two sons, Darius and Arsaces, and a daughter, Dynamis. They would later create the entire Bosphorian dynasty. He also minted his own coins dating from 55 to 50 BC. After Pharnakes took back the towns around the Bosphorus, he began mustering a large elite force. He had plans on taking back his father's kingdom. At the time that Pharnakes had decided to go to war, Caesar was all the way down in Egypt, surrounded by Ptolemy's army. Pharnakes decided that he would attack, and he easily occupied Colchis, Pontus, and parts of Lesser Armenia. The Roman commander in Asia, Calvinus, confronted Pharnakes with diplomats. Pharnakes used this to take advantage of Calvinus and slow him down, attempting to justify his conquering. Calvinus requested aid from Cappadocia and Galatia, both of which sent small forces. Near Nicosia, Pharnakes decided to camp and attempted to ambush him, but it completely failed, and so instead of ambushing him, he decided to dig some trenches and bait the enemy instead. Calvinus, who should have waited for Caesar, decided to attack, and in the ensuing battle, having been outnumbered by cavalry and only having one unit of elite infantry, he lost quite a bit of his army, to say the least. And that small veteran unit managed to escape to a nearby hill and retreat back further into Asia. After this, Caesar somehow managed to survive in Egypt and crushed Ptolemy's army at the Nile River, charging uphill into a very well-fortified position. As Caesar was advancing through Syria, Pharnakes heard that Asander had revolted in the Bosphorus. He immediately turned to go and face him. That was until he heard about Caesar coming in the south. The reason for Asander's revolt is not known, and it's kind of ridiculous if you ask me. Pharnakes decided to use his old diplomatic trick again. However, Caesar was not falling for it, and he was not in the mood to negotiate. He continued his march. The two eventually met at Zela, the same Zela that Mithridates had won at, and both camped on a hill. For every reason, Pharnakes had the right to be overconfident. He had a larger army, he had a more experienced army, and he was the son of Mithridates the Great, who also won at that place. So it makes sense that he moved his camp closer to Caesar's. Now what doesn't make sense is why he decided to bring out his entire army that same day and start marching down the side of the hill. Pharnakes then decided to order the army up Caesar's hill, right at him as he was building his camp. Caesar started to laugh, thinking that it was just a threat. However, Pharnakes continued up the hill, and quickly Caesar stopped laughing and ordered a thin line of soldiers to keep Pharnakes delayed. As soon as the two lines came into contact, the chariots broke through the Roman line and started massacring them, dealing a lot of damage. However, fighting uphill is going to slow you down tremendously, so this thin line managed to keep Pharnakes pinned. Eventually, the rest of the Roman infantry came up and threw their pila to kill the chariot drivers, which broke and fled back to Pharnakes' camp. Both sides started to take heavy losses. However, fighting uphill against heavily armored infantry usually spells disaster for the side going uphill, so before long, Pharnakes' army broke and ran. Pharnakes ordered some men to stay in the camp and guard the retreat, while he took 1,000 horses and rushed back to Sinope. Calvinus chased him, allowed him to keep his men, but killed the horses, which is kind of strange if you ask me. Pharnakes went back to the Bosphorus, collected another army, and then lost to Asander because he was short on cavalry, and he eventually died of his own wounds. He was 50. He died fighting for the same cause as his father, freedom. I know the episode is short, but I really didn't have much else to talk about. Pharnakes is much less known and celebrated than Mithridates the Great was. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed my first series, The Rise and Fall of Pontus. I don't know what I'll be covering next. Possibly, The Rise and Fall of Armenia. Thank you all for watching this episode. You can find me on Instagram at LoneBerserkerYT. You can find my website at www.theriseoftheeast.com. And you can buy my book on Amazon called Mithridates the Great, the Indomitable, and the Poison King, Rome's Deadliest Enemy. This has been the Rise of the East podcast, and I, Joel Francis, have been your host. Goodbye.